Welcome to this episode of The Russell Brown Show that I'm calling More Blue Sky Thinking. Yes, in a previous demo, I spoke about 3 different ways that you could remove the black background around this dove. Yet, my viewers quickly advised me that there were many more ways to do this, and one of the more obvious ones is with a layer mask. However, I thought of yet another one, using the background eraser tool. So in this presentation, I'm going to show 2 additional techniques for removing this black background around this dove. Now, for those of you keeping count, that would make a total of 5 different ways to remove this background. Let's give these a try. The first of these will be here with the background eraser tool. Of course, to access this tool, you click and hold here on the eraser tool, and then move down here to the background eraser tool. Now, notice up here in the options bar that I have this icon selected, Sample Once. Sampling once is perfect for this project because our background is solid black. We only need to sample the targeted color once. Then, moving over here, Limits. I always set this to discontiguous when I'm working on a project like this because I want to get the detail between the feathers. Right there. Tolerance. I'm going to set this up to something like 50% for this particular project. I think that's going to work pretty well, but each project is different, and adjusting the tolerance will determine how many shades of black you are eliminating with this brush. Now here, Protect Foreground Color. I tend to keep this off when I work on projects like this. When I select Protect Foreground Color, it tends to make it a little bit too abrupt and not soften the transitions when using this brush. So I keep that off. Okay, now we're going to go in here with a soft edge 300 pixel brush and start to paint on this. Now, I might have made a duplicate copy, but in this particular project I did not, and I know my viewers will write in and tell me, "Gee Russ, you should have made a duplicate copy. Then you wouldn't be destroying your original." You're right, but this is a demonstration, and you can of course realize that Mr. Brown would have done that. As you can see, I can move over these feathers and actually go on top here and touch the feathers, but they're not erased because it's targeting the first selected color. We go through and we clean it up like this. Be sure and get these areas here, and bingo, we're done. So that was a really nice, easy way, and you can control the amount that you paint away or erase by setting different values for the tolerance. Let's go down here to my history palette and save that one. Let's go back to our original and click here. So we rewind this back to our original image. Now let's talk about a layer mask. Now, would I do this just as a normal layer mask? No, I'm going to show you a more advanced layer mask. Let's go over here to my channels palette, and let's take a look at some of our channels and see if they might help us to quickly and easily create a mask. I'm looking here at the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. The winner is the red channel because it has the greatest contrast between the background black and the dove. I'm going to copy this red channel by clicking on it and dragging it down here to the base of the channels palette, just like that. Then, once I've got this copy, I can start to edit this copy. Let's first start here with the paintbrush tool, and my foreground is set to black, and I'm just going to go in here and paint over these edges where the clouds were showing through. I want to get rid of this area right here, just like that. Then I'm going to bring up the levels controls, Command L on the Macintosh, Control L on the PC, and let's make sure that we have a solid black in the background right there, just like that. And let's lighten the inner section of the dove here because we want to make a mask so it reveals through that section. And then finally, maybe a midpoint adjustment, just a little to lighten this up. And we're going to click OK. So our mask is getting fairly close, but we need one more additional adjustment, and that's going to be done over here with the Dodge and Burn tools. I'm going to first start with the Dodge tool. Notice up here in my options bar, I'm going to dodge a range of shades in the highlights by clicking here on this pop-up menu. I've selected highlights. The exposure is the amount of adjustment that's going to happen, how quickly it's going to adjust the exposure. 18 is pretty good. I'm now going to start painting on the interior of the dove, and look at this. It's going to then lighten this area up. Don't get too close to those feathers on the wings. I do want to get rid of the feet here. With multiple clicks there, I can get rid of those feet. I want to drop the exposure down a bit and then go in here with a bit larger brush and start to slowly blend this area of the feathers. Now I want to leave a little bit of gray in the feathers because I want the feathers to be semi-transparent, because that's the way they would look in the real world. And we now have a great mask that we created from the red channel. All we do now is hold on a Command key on the Macintosh or a Control key on the PC, move our cursor over the red copy here, as you can see, click once, and of course that loads it as a selection. We now go back to our layers, target our layer that we want to work with, and we can now create a layer mask. If I go down here to the base of my layers palette and add a layer mask, it will then detect the selection and turn it into a mask. But wait, there's more. Target your mask and we can adjust this mask, because this mask is simply a grayscale image, as you can see here. Now I pulled this grayscale image up by clicking on my Option key on my Macintosh or my Alt key on the PC, and then click here on the mask itself. Now let's do something that's quite intriguing. Let's go up here to the Window menu, down to Arrange, and over to New Window for the iStock Clouds photo right here. So we now have a duplicate copy of the exact same document. We're then again going to go up to Window, Arrange, and this time I'm going to tile them horizontally. I'm going to zoom in here on this document on the feathers, just like that. Then again from the Window menu, Arrange, I'm going to match the zoom and location between the two versions of the same document. Cool. Now, in this top document, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to bring back the layer mask view with the Option or Alt key and click on the layer mask right over here. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the layer mask on the top and the results of the layer mask on the bottom view down here. If I run levels on this top layer mask, let's see what happens. Command L on the Macintosh, Control L on the PC. Let's give this a try. Let's move this over here. So I'm controlling the mask. I'm going to target the midpoint. Let's move this to the right, let go, and then it previews down below. So look at the control I have. Once I've created the mask, I can then control it really accurately to determine how the mask traps in on the photograph of the dove. So we did not throw the pixels away in this particular project. They're still there, but we're masking them and we have control over it. Just because I can, I want to show you one additional effect. Many times I'll actually blur this mask to get more control. So with the mask targeted, filter down here to blur and over to Gaussian blur. I can then run a blur on the mask. As you can see here, I can control the amount of blur. I don't want to go too far, maybe right about there. I just want to get rid of some of the grain patterns in this mask and just blur it a bit so I have more control over it. That looks good. Click OK. So now once again, bringing up my levels, I can then move this midpoint and I have a bit more control, and I've also softened the mask if there was any excess noise in it or any posterization in the mask. I remove that by softening it with the Gaussian blur. Let's click OK. Let's close this document. Let's bring this document back up to full size, and we have our finished document. Let's save that down here in my history palette. So once again, yes, the Russell Brown Show brings you 2 more ways to extract the background behind this dove image. We of course saw this image where we used a layer mask, which we generated from the red channel. And in this earlier version, we went over and we used the background eraser tool. There you go, 2 additional ways to extract a background. Give these a try.